No. And we're going live here. Hi, welcome to the Conscious Living Show. Welcome to the Conscious Living Show. I just sound like I was repeating myself. We're on Instagram and YouTube, and we're on the Sex Host Doctor on YouTube and the Conscious Living Show on Instagram. So we're looking forward to sharing some insights with you tonight. So I'm Dr. Nancy, and you are?
I'm Dr. Mark.
And we are a couple. We've been together for 34 years. And so we're excited to be here with you tonight and share some insights. I'm a clinical sexologist, and you are?
I'm an internal medicine doctor.
Right. And Mark also has some other tricks up his sleeve, like a 5th degree in Kempo karate.
Well, thanks for flattering me.
Yeah, well, you're my protector. So, of course, you've taught me a few things that I've used to protect myself a time or two.
I think you've used the Kempo more than I have.
Probably. That's funny.
Which is another topic that we should have at some point in time about self-defense. But we are going to talk a little bit about self-defense today. But
We are.
the very first thing we have to agree upon is the coronavirus is real. This is a real deal. Many people are getting the infection now, and the death rates are increasing. All of this is real. There's nothing, it's not a fairy tale. It's not a conspiracy. It's happening to our country. And unfortunately, it's escalating just before the vaccine's available. So we wanted to kind of give you some insights about at least how we feel about the coronavirus and how to move forward in this environment.
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is the after effects of Thanksgiving, and what we saw a couple of weeks ago were the after effects from Halloween. And so we're seeing this holiday season really put some stress on everybody to want a normal life again. And we totally get that. However, we're seeing the after effects. They're real. The hospitals are filling up in every state across this country. And so when you start to see the ICUs filling up and the death rate go up, I mean, I don't even know how we can wrap our heads around the number of people that are dying every day now.
Well, in our community, we had 1 or 2 people in the hospital, then 4 or 5, and now we're up to about 50 on a regular basis with 10 people in the intensive care unit.
Right.
And I think it's going to probably double before it starts to taper off. So again, this is this is very real and very serious.
Yeah. And so a lot of people say, well, it's just the flu, or people are dying of other things, and it's not that big of a deal. So we gathered a little data from 2018, because 2019 and 2020 data isn't available yet through the CDC. So we just have some comparisons just to kind of give you something to relate the numbers for COVID to. So let's just go through some of these.
And you can, these are from 2018, so there was no coronavirus impact on these numbers at this time.
Right.
This is all prior things. And we're all familiar with the current rates. You can see them on World Meter at Johns Hopkins site. But 1,800 people die each day of heart disease, 1,600 of cancer, 457 in avoidable accidents like car accidents, 336 die of COPD or lung disease, 404 a day of strokes, 232 of diabetes. I was a little surprised that was on the lower side for as serious as it is. And unfortunately, probably living with diabetes is harder, especially the complications. 161 average of influenza. Now, obviously, we have many more during the winter and hardly any in the summer, but it averages 161, and 130 a day of suicide. All of these things are very serious, and when you add them all up, it's significant, but it does put in perspective the impact that COVID-19 infections are having in our population. And I think they're going to continue to go up before they go down. Unfortunately, the vaccine is almost ready to go. but it has to be produced in larger quantities. And of course, you hear every day about how hard it is to get it out to each and every one. And of course, the skeptical people, in terms of being able or willing to have it. All of those things will impact us going forward.
And the reason that we're giving you this information isn't to scare you, isn't to make you feel bad about your decisions. We really want you to feel empowered, because I know a lot of you are already having these conversations with your friends and family, trying to explain your reasons for the decisions that you're making. And so I think if you're armed with some data that's not disputable, then at least it allows you to have a conversation with people that's meaningful and that can get your point across as to why you're being protective. But we want to give you some strategies tonight on how to have healthy, happy holidays, and even perhaps have some time with your families, but do it as safely as possible. It's kind of like with sex, and I'll always bring everything back to sex because that's just what I do. But when we talk about using condoms or making sure you're getting tested, all of these things, it's really the same in that you're doing everything you can to protect yourself from getting or giving an illness to somebody else. And so we really want to just kind of balance that out and look to see what is your risk benefit ratio for whatever it is, the decision you're going to make. Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people that are wishing they hadn't gone home for Thanksgiving.
Right. It doesn't take long to hear a story of somebody that's infected somebody in their family.
No.
And you are going to definitely feel that responsibility. So you have to make sure as you move forward that you're okay and that you have a mutual agreement with anybody that you're going to have contact with, that I understand if you give it to me and if I give it to you, that was just one of those things, because you can't, it cannot be zero. We accept these risks anytime we get in the car and drive with somebody.
So we never say safe sex, we say safer sex. So we're just going to say you're going to have safer holidays, right? We try to have safer holidays.
When is the next time we're going to have safer sex?
Well, you and I always have safe sex.
You didn't answer my question.
Tonight, in an hour, in about 40 minutes.
Okay, just
All
so
right.
it's safer.
So just some of the things to consider. I'm just going to kind of go through my list real quick, and then if you have questions, please put them in the comments, and we'll try to get to your questions. And if we don't get to them, message us after the fact, either through Facebook, Instagram, my website, drnsp.com, or YouTube. So you want to assess your personal risk. I think that's really important. Are you in essential care? Are you an essential worker? Are you out in the public? Or are you isolated and not seeing anybody and ordering your groceries from, having them delivered and dropped at your front door? Are you around people that have COVID? Like if you're a medical provider, you're going to be more at risk because you're around people that have the illness. So understand that. And then your own risk is like, are you living with somebody who's high risk, who potentially could get critically ill if you were to accidentally bring home the disease to them? So are you really willing to risk yourself and the other people that you live with? Because that, it does spread through families like wildfire, we're finding out. And are you currently feeling strong and healthy? You'd be shocked to know how many people don't feel good, have a runny nose, have a headache, lost their sense of taste and smell, and they still go to work. It's not clicking that those are all the symptoms of COVID. And yet they're still going to work. They still went to Thanksgiving. They still went on that hunting trip. I mean, the list goes on. And it's like we have this built-in denial mechanism that's really killing us.
Well, I hear frequently them just saying that I had a cold.
Right.
And that is what the coronavirus is. It's a cold virus.
Yeah.
And so you have to smile a little bit. The testing is going way up. When we test at the clinic with people who have symptoms, now not asymptomatic people, because then the negatives come on. But if you test people who are symptomatic right now, 8 out of 10 tests are going to be positive. And those other 2 that tested negative, probably are false tests, because
Right.
we're having, this is what is in our community. This is what is spreading around right now. We've seen a few streps and one flu, and that's it. So, it's overwhelmingly likely to be COVID if you become sick. So let yourself off the hook and just stay home.
Well, I'm going to use somebody who's I would call him a warning. All right. And his name is Rudy Giuliani. And if you haven't heard of his name, I'm shocked. So Rudy Giuliani is traveling around the country in small spaces, not wearing a mask. And he tested negative two consecutive days. And then the third day, he tested positive. And on those 2 other days, he was infectious but testing negative, because it's shown that a person is most infectious a day or two before they develop symptoms. And so he was spreading it unknowingly, I'm sure, and unwittingly, but he was spreading that in all the close proximity that he was spending time with people. So now everybody that was around him for 15 minutes or longer within 6 feet for that extended period of time really should be quarantining for 2 weeks. And I don't think they are.
Well, it's interesting. He was testing every day.
They tested him. That's what the report was, that they tested him and then he tested positive.
Well, 99.9% of us can't test every day,
right,
to know.
Right.
And that's the problem is that you have Thanksgiving dinner, and then over the next 3, 4, 5, 7 days, you don't know if you're spreading it or not unless you get tested.
Yeah.
If it's negative, well, that's kind of okay. That's better than positive. But then 3 or 4 more days, you get tested again. There's nothing that substitutes for just isolating yourself after you've had an exposure. But
the negative tests are really difficult to know how to utilize that information.
Well, in the quarantine person, they're basically not effective, and you can't test out of the quarantine period. And now, of course, they changed that as well. And you still have to go a significant length of time to make sure you're out of that zone. Early on, when we were testing, the whole point was to find the positives so that we could trace and try to nip it in the bud, so to speak.
Yeah.
But right now, with the number of cases, they can't trace. They can't make that many phone calls a day times 10 to all the other people that they had contact with. So we're way outside the realm of testing and tracing. So you can make an argument about how much testing is really valuable at this point in time. Medically, I think that
it's certainly valuable as we're picking up the positives, because like Rudy Giuliani would still be, with his sniffles and sweating, he'd still be spreading it. So
positive test does mean warning and stay home and such.
Right.
But if you lose your sense of taste and smell, that is as good or perhaps even better than the nasal swab and testing. And you know that immediately.
Right.
All right, go on with your list here.
So then the other thing is to create this strategy is to assess the risk of others that you plan to be with. So if you're going to be around people like newborn babies, high risk population because they don't have any immunity built up yet. So that's a really risky arena. Elderly people that have any of the comorbidities. We mentioned, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, cancer, anything that's compromising their ability to fight off infection.
There's an easy way to assess that.
How?
Just ask yourself how you would feel if you were responsible, if they were harmed by an infection that you brought to them, and that will slowly help you, kind of come to grips with the responsibility that you have with your plans. And
anytime you're going to be around other people, you want to have some kind of a conversation with them about what is their current strategy. Are they out and about? Are they essential workers? Are they wearing masks? What are their beliefs about masks? And kind of assess where they are, because you might be going in fully armed with everything that you believe to be healthy and protective, and you might be stepping into a hornet's nest of people that aren't doing that at all. So you want to know that. And then have some advance agreements. What were you going to say? The hornet's nest?
No, I was just laughing because you always talk about sex, and so I was just putting it
Oh,
kind of going back and
jumping
forth.
into the orgy, right?
Going back and forth with how would that sound if we were talking about sex? And,
Yeah, we can always make it about
you know,
sex.
it really is. Where have you been? What have you been doing? Who
Who you been with? What did you do with them? Did you
Yeah.
wear any protection? Yeah. all
Yeah.
that stuff,
So
right.
and to be honest with you,
It's really same.
all of these contacts that spread illness, it is going to be the same concepts across the board.
It is. And then have some advance agreements. And again, we could just put this right into the sexual category or the COVID category, but have advance agreements with people that you're going to be spending time with so that, you know, like we're gearing up to go spend some time with our kids this week. We've both been isolating for a week or more. They've been isolating. We're very conscious about how healthy we are. Mark's been testing. I'm not basically around anybody. So we're doing everything we can to gear up. And then when we're with them, we're going to kind of keep a distance. We're not going to be mowing on them, but we're going to do the best we can because everybody, we do understand that there's some emotional needs that have to be met here. And we don't want to have those emotional needs put us in a position where we're throwing all caution to the winds and putting everyone at risk. So again, it's like sex, obviously sex is a healthy need and having healthy sex is great, but you don't want to really throw it all away because of one encounter. So that's kind of my idea.
Wear a mask, use a condom.
Wear a mask. Condoms and masks are kind of the same thing, right? Right? It's a face condom. So wear your face condoms. But these are conversations. This is all really good practice for sexual encounters versus a dinner with your family, is to be able to talk about these things openly. What are you worried about? If you genuinely are worried, talk about it. Bring it up.
It brings in the other concept of not having judgment. Don't put pressure on people to attend if they're starting to backpedal a little bit.
Right.
Just respect their decision. These shouldn't really be discussions. They have to be 2 yeses, and that's it.
No coercion.
If somebody has a no, just accept the no. See, right there again.
Yeah, totally.
You have to accept the no. Don't put pressure. Don't be judgmental. You don't know what they've been up to. So if they're trying to tell you no, they may not want to tell you that they just went to a wedding,
right?
And which occurred, and so you've got to give people the chance to say no, respect the no, don't put pressure on them. There will be other times. We've got a vaccine coming, 6 months, we'll be better.
Well, and it seems like even like with STIs, there's a shame that goes along with having any kind of illness, and I'm seeing that with people with COVID too. There's a COVID shaming that's happening. And so I think people are afraid to say, oh, I'm just not feeling very good. They're afraid that everybody's going to think they have the plague, which they kind of do. But, I think we're disarming people rather than arming them. So we really need to have open conversations. And honestly, if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling top of the morning and healthy and well, if you have a scratchy throat, you wake up with the sniffles, you have a cough,
you should look at Nancy's
thing. Stay home.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I wrote a thing and it was called "Stay the fuck home." So, I mean, we really need to pull back. And I think if we can learn something from this season of COVID, we can probably reduce the number of people that have and suffer and die from influenza and other viral illnesses every year from here out. They've done that in Asian countries where they've just adopted wearing masks as a courtesy. When they're not feeling well, the first thing they do is put on a mask.
When you think about the holiday season, you can't make the risk zero. So, and we know that we have a reprieve coming because the vaccines have tested very well. And herd immunity is building, unfortunately, with the number of people that are infected each day. So we do have an end in sight, and so you want to make it to the finish line, And unfortunately, a large number of people don't. And it is predominantly older people, but not exclusively older people. So,
well, what's older? There's been 50-year, I mean, a lot of 50-year-olds that are dying.
right,
so.
right. Yeah, the older people
Yes.
get younger every day.
Isn't that the truth?
So what I was going to say is it's simple math. If you had a great Thanksgiving, you had your family together, and you're recovering from that,
Mhm.
if you have also a Christmas, you've just doubled your risk of having introduced COVID into your arena. There have been some interesting other math things too. And with the instance of COVID out there in the community now, if you have 10 people in a room, it's more than a 50% chance that one of them has COVID. Just 10 people. And that's
Wow.
where these numbers are not random numbers when they try to reduce the groups and the size of groups. Used to be 20 people, now it's 10. Maybe it's even smaller depending on the instance of COVID in your community. But it doesn't take too many people in the room at the same time to end up with an exposure. So maybe, for some people, maybe they have to stagger their visits, and not have everybody go to the same time. Now, the person who's the center of attraction is going to get exposed to everybody, but that would occur if they were having, if you were getting 10 people together as well. But if it's a parent that you may not, some people are saying, and legitimately so, my father's 94 years old. I don't know if there's going to be another year, So you add up those risks, you decide, and you go. But maybe you don't all need to be in the room at the same time with him.
Yeah.
Because then you're not only exposed to him, but you're exposed to the other people in the room.
So if you have any questions or concerns or comments about that segment of our show tonight, please email me. You can email me at drnancy@drnsp.com. If you're if you just want somebody to talk it through, like how to process this information for your own decisions, I'm happy to just listen to you and kind of help you look at the pros and cons. Nobody has the answer. And I think that's the hard part is, we'd all like to just have a pat answer. And obviously the most extreme measure would be for us all just to isolate and let this thing die out. But I'm not seeing that's going to happen. And especially we have people out there that have to work and function. So we have to run our society.
Well, and I think people are saying, if I'm going to go to work every day and take a chance, then I'm going to have Thanksgiving and take a chance. But you have to also ask yourself, who are you exposing?
Right.
So
and are you okay with that person being injured? And that we have to live with our choices, right? These are called consequences.
Yeah.
So we have to live with it. So I'd like to move on to the second segment of our show. And we're going to be talking about loving consciously. This is the Conscious Living Show, but it's also a show about loving consciously. And the holidays are a time that we can really get distracted and stressed, and especially this year trying to figure all these things out. Maybe we have a difference of opinion with our partner about what we should and shouldn't do over the holidays. But so I've just kind of written out a few little hints and tricks.
Go ahead.
All right.
For it. Yeah.
So
I'm listening.
One of the things that I
I
recommend a lot, and Mark and I definitely practice, is when every day we think about what little thing can I do today to make the other person's day a little easier, a little better, a little brighter, whether it's make them laugh, whether it's to make the coffee for them, whether it's just to make sure that they have fresh clothes to wear, food in the fridge. I mean, whatever acts of service or your love language is, and their love language is, speak to them in their love language. And I've been doing some interesting counseling lately with couples about love languages. And it's easy to love other people in our own language. It takes more concerted effort to feel loved by them from their language. And that takes a little more consciousness. So that's part of the conscious loving practice that we teach. And so just a little something nice every day for your partner. Cut them some slack. Maybe that's all they ask, is that you don't guilt them for wanting to have an hour of time to sit and just veg out or go to exercise or nothing, just do nothing, you know. So that kind of thing. And the other is to create a new tradition of stealing away even an hour of time when the holidays start to get a little crazy. And Mark did this for me several years ago, and it was a challenge for me to steal myself away because it was Christmas Eve. We had a full house coming, you know, it was all the plans, but he just said, I just want an hour of your time. And I thought, okay, I can do this. And boy, am I glad I said yes. I mean, he really made it worth my while. And so it was just a very sweet, romantic gesture. He put a lot of energy into it, I have to say. But it doesn't have to be that complicated to be that wonderful, where you just are stealing away time. You put your technology away and you just sit and just have a conversation. Just embrace a little longer, just something that reconnects you.
Well, and we did that the other day when we took time to set up our dinner table in a room without any screens. Normally we'll sit in front of the TV, listen to the news or something like that, but we gave each other full attention. And it was, even for us, it was a little eureka moment to, that, you know, don't let these days slip away so quickly without having a little bit of time one-on-one with your best friend, your partner.
Yeah,
absolutely,
definitely.
You know, and yeah, just very important.
And make sure that you're connecting a little bit in the morning and a little at night. You know, like my favorite times of day are those particular times because it's just you and I, and it's just us in that bed, and that's like our little sacred zone. And so just to feel his body when I can snuggle my
You're all hearing it first right now.
Cold butt right up next to him.
Invitation.
And then in the morning, you know, when you're warm and you snuggle, then those are just really precious times. So, you know, take advantage of those times. Just be conscious of them, and learn the heart hug. It's a really fun, enlivening, connecting way to hug your partner. And so you would stand facing each other, and you would take your left arm up, your left arm's up, right arm down, and then come toward each other, and then wrap your arms around so that you're heart to heart.
Yeah.
And stay for 3 full breaths where you synchronize your breaths together. And you'll be amazed at how long that will feel, and then how relaxed you both will feel afterward. I mean, you can feel your blood pressure drop, you can feel your body just kind of melt, and tension dissolves away. And it's just a beautiful thing to do to reconnect with your partner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this is the person that you decided to live the rest of your life with. So,
yeah,
you know, think of that first time that you really were dying to be in their space, and you get to have it happen anytime you want. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right. And then the other thing is to make a gift for each other that's something private and sensual. Whether it can be a love letter, it can be a massage, it can be just to turn on music in your bedroom and dance. It can be anything that you feel is kind of sexy and sensual. If you live in an area, like we have lakes nearby, so a picnic lunch, if it's sunny out one day, might be something special that you could give them a coupon for something like that. But to create something that's just a little bit private and that has a sexy or a sensual note to it, it can help you look forward to more time with each other.
Not every time you do that will it work out as expected, but
usually not. But it's something
but
good will happen.
Something, yeah, exactly. Something will happen. Sometimes our biggest disasters make us laugh so hard. You know, it's just one thing after another of unfortunate circumstances, and you just get laughing so hard. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, Mark committed to me years ago that was going to be his main job, was to make me crack up every day. And he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good at it.
Well, mostly accidents.
I don't think so. All right. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
No,
our
I
show?
think
We're
that's
trying to
really
keep
good.
these to about 30 minutes.
You can make this holiday a little more intimate and safe. And everybody's struggling, but there are ways to kick it up a notch.
And I'm really an advocate for, we may have to sacrifice a holiday or an experience this year so we get to have them next year and the following year and the following year. It's not, there's not one holiday that's worth risking the life of one of your family members or your own. And we're also seeing it's not just the death rate from COVID, but the aftermath of illness that we're seeing from people that are months down the road. I just read a story yesterday of someone who had COVID last March, and they're still sick. They still aren't right. They're still having nerve issues, and they're still so fatigued they can barely function. And so this is affecting people long term. We don't have obviously the long range plan visualized yet, but based on how the last 9 or 10 months has gone, it takes its toll on people. They're not just well and over it. And don't believe the leaders that are getting this and saying that they're as good as new or better than new. That's not happening, but they're just not going to tell you the truth because they're so afraid to appear weak and vulnerable. And so just talk to people that have really experienced this and that have no dog in the race or horse in the race or whatever it's called.
We've often taken really fun vacations, and we know from experience that if you say, gosh, that vacation that we did last year was so good, I want to do exactly the same thing again. And you know what? It isn't as good the second time when you try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get kind of in these traditions, and I know they're important, and I certainly want to see my family. But when these things come up that kind of change us up a little bit, there can be some pretty neat serendipity,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the second time we went to Europe, we laughed when we got off a bus, and it looked like I was going to have to carry the suitcases down 1,000 steps, And,
I was just going to push mine down.
Nancy was just going to throw hers down to see what was left at the bottom. But those kind of things, unpredictable. At first, they seem daunting, but you can laugh and you can survive and actually have a lot of fun. So get creative with your holidays. If you had a great Thanksgiving, think about just staying home and keeping it intimate with your partner. It's going to double your risk. It's not worth it. If you haven't seen someone for a long time, do it as safely as possible.
Yeah.
Be conscious. Where there's a conscious living show, be conscious of how you're approaching this. And we're fortunate we are able to alter our schedule. Some people can't get the time to do that. Be very careful.
Yes, please. It's there are some things that are worth it and some things that aren't. And all I ask is that when you're pondering these decisions that you're going to make, that you really sit down and weigh it out and think, try to project yourself forward and think, all right, how would I feel if, and go through all the possibilities. And if you're okay with all the possibilities, you can live with yourself and it would be worth it, then the decision to make. And there certainly shouldn't be any shame or guilt or embarrassment about making the decisions that you're going to make. You just want to make them consciously so that you're not caught off guard, because regret is probably one of the worst things that we can suffer from. So this is just one way to avoid feeling regretful.
We're almost done. So I just wanted to tease a little bit and say, well, when we first got together and with my little mathematical teasing, one of the things that I calculated out was how many times was I going to be able to have sex with this girl before I passed away. And I calculated that number and I smiled and danced. And I have to tell you, if I were to die from COVID, it would cut me short.
That would piss you off more than anything.
And
if I die, you're really SOL.
Yeah, well, if either of us do. So that
okay.
Well, at least, anyway.
Never mind.
All right. So So you see, she's laughing. So I've accomplished it again today. But be very careful. Life is a lot of fun. There's serendipity out there that can make this holiday better than you'd imagine without developing depression or becoming suicidal and all the other things.
And 2021 is almost here. We can make it.
Yeah.
We can make it. I know we can.
All right.
So just stay strong. Make yourselves laugh. Watch comedy if you're feeling blue. Zoom with people that you care about. You know, the Zoom has changed the world. So use your FaceTime, your Skype, your Zoom, whatever you have to do to at least see people that you care about.
So next week, when we come back, I'm going to put a little advertisement out there and say that we should talk about self-defense.
Okay.
Because Nancy has some really good stories.
I do.
And I've trained for 25 years, and we have a technique called begging hands.
I know. I used it. Yeah.
so let's
Somebody was begging.
Let's talk about protecting yourself, which is kind of a corollary to what we just did today.
Okay,
right.
That sounds good.
Good night.
All right, have a great evening and week, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching.
Good
Bye.
night.
All right, let me just check in with our people here. Let's see. Oh, sorry.
You gotta make them busy.
Did you all just throw up? Okay.
I'm the talking head.
All right, so hello. Love all that you do for the wife and me. Oh, thank you, Sailor Willie. Good to see you on here. And I'm looking at their Facebook page to see if they are out there socializing. Oh, before you see anybody, that's a great idea, is to investigate them on social media.
Yeah,
see where they've been, right? Okay, so anyway, lovely to have you guys here, and we'll be back next week, next Monday at 6 p.m. We'll see you then. If you have questions, comments, or topics that you'd like us to cover during these shows, please speak up.
Yep.
All right.
Stay safe.
Okay. Good night.
Good job, Bob. Yeah, we did it. 35 minutes.
Yeah.
2 segments.
Well, we weren't ended.